All right, guys, what's going on in this video here? I want to answer Stephanie's question here about handling pricing inquiries with inbound leads. Okay, so I'm going to read Stephanie's post here real quick, and then we're going to answer her questions. She said, "Good morning. Hope everyone had a fun fourth. Looking for advice. Recently joined BLG, and prospects are coming in like crazy off of our website. Thank you, BLG. You're welcome, Stephanie. Congrats. I'm super excited that you're seeing some results and movement. We have 3 different avenues they can reach out to us. They can schedule a free intro, sit down and chat. They can schedule a free trial class and come in for a free class. They request pricing. An autoresponder with message goes out. We have almost 100% close rate with the first 2. We have less than 10% close rate with the last run. We are not responding to our auto message, which is giving them the pricing. Classes range from $7 up to $210 a month, depending on what option you choose. Any advice on what you all use as a response to people filling out the pricing request form? Thanks for your help." Okay, cool. So just to give some context, if I were to go to, one of our websites for one of our gyms, let's go to diehardcrossfit.com here. Once it loads here, it might just load a little bit slow. There it is. When a lead lands on the website here, some leads are going to go right to the getting started form and fill this out, and then it's going to take them over to book an intro. Or some are going to click this pricing tab up here. Now, this is really effective for taking people that otherwise would have landed on a pricing page and converting them into leads that we can follow up with, right? So they're going to click this, and rather than it taking them to a pricing page, it's going to say, "Hey, go ahead and increase, or go ahead and fill out this form and request our current pricing," right? That's pretty common these days. We sometimes as business owners think too hard about this, and we think that somehow this is bait and switchy or whatever, but actually this is really common on almost all businesses' websites, and we have several hundred gyms running this and generating a lot of leads off it. And just to give some data behind this, so you know that it works and that it's not actually affecting things in a negative way. 9 times out of 10 that this form gets opened up on most websites, because we track this with Google Analytics and different things like that. 9 times out of 10 it gets filled out. So people aren't running away from this in any way, shape, or form. Most people are going to fill it out. So when they fill this out, what's going to happen is you're going to get the lead. It's going to come into Gymnetics, and it's going to kick off an automation. It's going to send them a text message saying, "Hey, prices are as low as X, up to X." And the reason why we do that is because we don't generally want to meet the pricing inquiry head on by answering the question, right? So we have to understand here is the person's curiosity is, what is the price, right? And we know how people are with money. Sometimes when they find out the price, their next response is, "Okay, thanks, I'll let you know," right? And that's not how we want to end this discussion. What we want to do is we want to meet this pricing inquiry from a different angle. We want to come at it from an angle of more or less changing the subject to the conversation we know we should be having with this lead, right? And the conversation that we should be having with a lead that's coming in just thinking about pricing, right? Because if someone's coming in thinking about pricing, their belief is that I need to know the pricing because my budget is more important than my results, right? It's safe to assume that that's what the person is thinking. If they're with all the ways they can opt in on your website, if they're opting in through this form, it's because they are thinking price first. Because if it wasn't price first, they would click the get started button. So we need to break that belief and that pattern, right? That behavior that the budget is more important than my results. Because we know that places that give results, aka our gyms, are going to probably cost more than a gym that just gives them access, right? So it's important that they understand the context first of what they're getting before we tell them it's 3 or 4 or 5 times more than just going to Planet Fitness, right? So what you want to do is you want to ideally first, in her question of she's getting a low response rate, right? She's getting about a 10% close rate off of this form. Now, I'll tell you, across the 500 plus gyms that we work with right now, the data shows that the close rate on that form is usually about 16 to 20%, right? So the pricing form, what you have to understand about it is these are leads you otherwise wouldn't get, right? So any of them we can close is the gravy on top of the on our meal here, right? So what we want to do is optimize and maximize that close rate to get it in that 16 to 20% close rate. Now, she's saying here that she's letting the autoresponder kind of do the work. Now, what I would recommend to these pricing inquiries, I would instead let the autoresponder run, if you can't get to the lead. But these pricing inquiries, what I would do is I would pick up the phone and I would call them as fast as possible. I would practice speed to lead, right? That's how you're going to convert the maximum number of these leads, right? Which again, you're going to be if you're doing a good job of this and really getting back to these leads quickly, you're going to get you're probably going to double the close rate. You're going to be like a 20% close rate, right? So, if you figure that most gyms get double the leads off of this form and they do off the other form, that means you're actually going to be getting about 40% more conversions off of that form, right? If we do the math on that. Okay, but that's if you get a 20% close rate off of the leads coming out of this form. So if you just let the autoresponders run, what a lot of people are going to do is they're going to be like, okay, thanks, right? They're just not going to respond, right? Because as soon as you tell them what it costs, like they're like their curiosity is over with, right? And like they now kind of the ball's in their court, right? So you generally want to change the subject to being one of what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? Are you looking to lose weight, gain muscle, or increase performance? And if you just let the autoresponders do that, sometimes they're going to respond, but a lot of times they're not. So ideally, like it's remembering that the autoresponders, the automation and chatbots and all these things that we built in 2023 in our modern times are really just backups, right? These are all backups. Number one is always going to be good follow-up, right? And good follow-up ultimately is person to person. It's peer to peer. It's not AI or automation to peer. Those are backups if we just can't we can't get back to that person. So my answer to you here, Stephanie, would be to put into practice immediately an SOP of calling leads back within 5 minutes, calling these pricing leads back within 5 minutes. And the conversation goes very, very similar. And it's answering like, hey, I saw you were checking out. And what I would do is honestly just not even address the pricing thing. Like don't even bring it up, right? They're inquiring about pricing, but just act like you didn't hear it. Just treat them the same as you would treat the leads that came in off the getting started form and say, hey, I saw you, inquired on our website about our gym, and it looks like you had some questions. I just want to call you back and see what questions I can answer for you. Oh, and by the way, and before you even let them answer that, you just say, oh, and by the way, what are your goals? Are you looking to are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain muscle? I would build rapport, right? That's how you change the subject, right? Because people are when they're coming into this pricing form, they're treating it very transactionally, right? They're like, I clicked the button, I want the price, right? So that's how they're treating you, right? So what you want to do, and that's because they're used to gyms selling them a membership, and I'm walking in a gym, walking past the girl at the counter, no one's saying hi, and they just assume, most people just assume that all gyms are like this. They don't realize that your gym is a place where you care, where they get to know you. So when you follow up with them over the phone and you call them, it's an opportunity to demonstrate what you really provide to them, which is that you're going to build rapport. Like, hey, how's it going? I saw you were just checking out our website. Do you live in the area? Okay, cool. What neighborhood are you in? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Have you lived here a long time, or did you just move here recently? Oh, okay, you've been here a long time. Which gym have you been going to? Right? You're asking questions, you're getting to know them, and as you ask these questions, they're gonna in their mind. It's kind of like if you go to a car dealership, right? And the guy just tries to sell you the most expensive car on the lot, and he's not trying to get what you get to know you and get an idea of what you really want. It's going to be hard to do business with that person versus you walk on the lot and the salesman's like, hey, so I see you're driving a truck now. What brings you in? Is the truck not working for you anymore? Are you looking for something different? Are you looking for a new truck? Or are you looking to switch into something with more of a minivan or an SUV? When a salesman starts to ask you those questions, or a business owner starts to ask you those questions, it shows you that they care about your needs, right? So it's really important to understand that these forms on your website are just there to get them in front of you. Don't worry about what their end intent is, right? The pricing form is to get them to opt in so we can have the real conversation, because at the end of the day, if we let them run around choosing gyms based on what's best for their budget, and they ultimately just go based on who is the lowest priced, we know they're not going to get the best service. And we know that if we meet that pricing inquiry head on by just answering their question, we're probably not going to get the opportunity to serve them either. So we need to take the opportunity, this is our moment with this lead. This is our opportunity with this lead to shift the conversation off of the thing we know that isn't going to serve them, searching for a gym based on price, to a conversation based on what really matters, right? So that's what I would do, is I would probably open up the conversation with hey, do you live in the area, right? Just completely, don't even get into the pricing thing. Now, if you go through all that, and after you've had a 5-minute rapport building conversation about what they're do they live in the area, what are their goals, have they been going to another gym, what gym have they been going to, right? Finding out where they're coming from is super, super important. Once you've done all that, if they still are hung up on price, you could say, hey, that's a really, really good question. Now, I prefer to answer that question with you here in person, where we can come in, I can show you around the gym and you can see what you're getting, because I can tell you right now, we're not going to be the cheapest in town. We're not built to be the cheapest in town. We're here to guide and coach and provide for you a community and environment and coaching and training and structure, and all those things, they cost a bit more than the type of gym you would go to where you're just going to use some equipment. So I can tell you that we have pricing for every budget, and I can give you a range, but as far as specifics, what I prefer to do is show you what you're going to get so you understand. And if it's something that doesn't work for you, no problem. At least we're here. And if it is something that works for you, then we'll get you started. So what day do you want to come down?